Ladies and gentlemen, the rich do not sleep the way you sleep. They fall asleep inside their desires, not their doubts. Every night they an invisible world carrying one secret assumption. It's already mine. That is their code. That is their frequency. And I tell you, if you fall asleep in the same vibration, you will wake up inside their world. Tonight, I will show you how to tune your imagination to the same inner frequency that the 1% live by, the frequency of completion. You will learn how to use your own mind as a tuning fork for wealth. Not by effort, not by luck, but by law. I will teach you how to enter sleep in a state of fulfillment so real that the outer world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. You'll discover how imagination is not dreaming, it's divine creation. And the world is nothing but imagination made visible. Before this night ends, you will know how to command money as naturally as you breathe. For money is only energy obeying the consciousness that directs it. I know the frustration of wanting more, of doing everything right, of working harder than ever, and still feeling like something unseen is blocking the flow. You look around and wonder why others seem to attract opportunities effortlessly while you fight for every inch. The truth is, wealth is not a contest. It's a vibration. You don't chase it, you align with it. The moment you stop praying for money as if it's missing and start assuming you already have it, the current shifts. The universe, which has been waiting for your conviction, begins to arrange itself to prove you right. The 1% aren't lucky. They're lucid. They understand that wealth is consciousness clothed in form. Tonight, I will help you remember that consciousness, the divine frequency that never stopped humming inside you. In this lecture, I'll reveal what I call the wealth frequency of the 1%. You'll learn how to enter that state each night before sleep, the sacred hour, when the conscious mind releases its grip and the subconscious obeys. First, we'll uncover what this frequency really is. Not a sound or a song, but a feeling. The feeling of it is finished. Then I'll guide you through the practice of assumption. How to see, hear, and feel your wealth as real before it appears. Finally, I'll give you the night prayer. A single act of imagination that will align your mind with the power that creates worlds. By the end of this lecture, you'll know not just how the 1% attract wealth, but why it was never luck at all. It was consciousness in motion. Here's something most people completely miss. They spend their entire lives listening for a sound that never comes through their ears. They search for success, for money, for proof, as though it were some secret note played from the heavens that only a few chosen ones can hear. But I tell you, the true wealth frequency is not a sound in the air. It is a vibration in consciousness. It hums beneath every thought, every heartbeat, every quiet breath. You can't hear it because you are it. It's the soundless sound, the eternal I am that creates worlds. When you are tuned to it, you don't chase money, you radiate wealth. You don't plead for success. Success recognizes you. You don't strive to become, you rest in being. Most people are tone deaf to this sound because their minds are tuned to the static of lack. They pray from desperation, affirm from fear, and visualize from emptiness. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The vibration of their prayers is discordant with the music of the divine. They keep saying I want, not realizing that every I want is an admission of I do not have. Desire is beautiful only when it becomes assumption, when it shifts from longing into possession. The difference between the beggar and the king is not what they ask for, but how they feel when they ask. The beggar feels the emptiness of what is missing. The king feels the certainty of what is his. Imagine two people standing before the same door. One knocks in fear, hoping to be let in. The other turns the handle with quiet assurance, knowing it already opens for him. That's the difference between the 99% and the 1%. The wealthy don't knock. They enter. They don't wait for the world to allow them. They assume the world already belongs to them. Their frequency is not need. It is completion. I want you to pause for a moment and really feel this. What does completion feel like? Not the excitement of getting, but the calmness of having. It's that sigh of relief after something is done. That inner stillness that says it's finished. That is the frequency of wealth. That's the vibration that reshapes the entire field of your reality. If you close your eyes now and imagine holding the life you want, the home, the freedom, the peace, and truly feel that it's already yours. Something inside you begins to shift. You'll notice it first as warmth in the chest, a softening of the breath, a strange calm that almost feels like power. That's the soundless sound. It's not emotional noise. It's divine stillness. When the 1% go to sleep, they do not drift into unconsciousness as the poor do, worrying, doubting, fearing the next day. No, they descend into that silence carrying one simple feeling. I have it. That's all. No argument, no evidence, no logic, just that silent hum of completion. It's the lullaby of the gods. It's why everything they touch seems to turn to gold, because they have already accepted gold within themselves. So tonight, as you listen to this, begin to sense it, that subtle hum that's been there all along. You don't have to create it. You only have to remember it. It's the sound beneath thought, the stillness beneath striving. That's where wealth begins. Not with words, not with action, but with the inner vibration of already having. But to maintain that vibration, to let it move from fleeting moment to living state, you must learn where creation truly happens in the sacred space between waking and sleep. For sleep is not escape. It is creation's workshop. Now, what I'm about to share may sound simple, even too simple, but I promise you, it's the hinge on which the entire law turns. The outer world is nothing but the mirror of the inner. And the mirror is always shaped in the hours when you are most still, when you drift into sleep. I discovered long ago that the final thought before sleep is the seed of tomorrow. The subconscious, that tireless builder, accepts without question whatever image or feeling you impress upon it as you surrender to rest. And whatever it accepts, it reproduces faithfully. Most of humanity falls asleep rehearsing fear. They replay the day's disappointments, the bills, the losses, the doubts. And so the subconscious, obedient as ever, constructs another day to match the tone of their last thoughts. They rise and wonder why nothing changes, unaware that they're writing the script their days perform. But the 1%, those who understand the law, do something very different. They fall asleep, not in memory, but review what has been. They rest in what shall be. In feeling is the secret. I wrote sleep is the door into heaven. That wasn't poetry. It was physics of consciousness. The drowsy state is the bridge between your conscious mind, the chooser, and your subconscious mind, the creator. In that moment, when you hover between waking and dreaming, your imagination becomes law. The walls of separation fall, and what you feel in that silence becomes your reality. Let me tell you something remarkable. Years ago, I desired to visit my family in Barbados, but I had no money, no ticket, no visible means. I could have despaired, but I remembered the law. So each night before sleep, I imagined myself already in Barbados. I smelled the salt in the air, felt the humid breeze, saw the palms through my window. I didn't imagine traveling. I imagined having arrived. I drifted to sleep in that feeling night after night. Within weeks, the impossible happened. A passage was paid for me by one who had no idea of my desire. I had tuned to the frequency of fulfillment, and the world rearranged itself to match. That's how sleep works. It's not rest, it's reception. Every night you hand the universe your instructions. Most hand over worry. The wise hand over assumption. The subconscious doesn't argue, it creates. So if you wish to change your life, don't start with your actions. Start with how you sleep. Tonight before you rest, close your eyes and one scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. Make it short. Make it simple, but make it real. It could be a friend congratulating you, a headline announcing your success, a moment of peace in your new home. Feel it vividly. Then let yourself drift. That final mood, not the scene. But the mood is the signal. That's what the subconscious receives. And by law, it must express it. But this brings us to something even deeper. The hidden habit that separates the 1% from the rest. They don't enter sleep with wishful thinking. They enter as masters of assumption. Let me show you how they do it. Here's the truth most never grasp. The wealthy do not hope for wealth. They assume it. They don't pray as beggars. They declare as creators. When they close their eyes at night, they don't plead, "I want success." They feel, "I am success." The entire world bends to that inner declaration. This is what I mean when I say you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The subconscious, being the divine servant, accepts only one master, the tone of your conviction. You can say "I am rich" 100 times. But if you still feel poor, the law reads the do feeling, not the words. The ones understand this consciously or not. They live from being, not striving. That is the secret habit hidden in plain sight. Think of a radio. You can't hear a station until you tune to its frequency. Yet the signal has been there all along. Wealth is that signal ever present, but unheard by those tuned to poverty and consciousness. The 1% simply live on a different frequency. They don't chase the signal. They become the receiver. When you align your imagination with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you've tuned in. You don't need to force anything to appear. You only need to remain on that channel long enough for the outer world to reflect it. It's the law of correspondence. As within, so without. Every visible condition is the echo of an invisible assumption. Change the assumption and the echo must change. The rich man, though surrounded by luxury, could still live in poverty consciousness and lose everything. The poor man, once awakened to his inner wealth, will draw abundance from the air itself. So stop asking how will it come. The how belongs to the bridge vents, not to you. Your only task is to be. Be the wealth. Be the light. Be the completion. If you can feel it, it's already forming. If you can rest in it, it must appear. And now that you know the secret of assumption, you must understand how the world obeys it. How the outer mirrors the inner through the divine law of correspondence. The ancient Hermetic law says, "As within, so without." Few realize how literal that is. The universe is not reacting to your actions. It's responding to your assumptions. The 1% live by this law instinctively. They see every event as feedback, not punishment or reward, but reflection. When they experience lack, they don't blame circumstances. They are just consciousness. Think of the world as a mirror. If you stand before a mirror and frown, you can't change the reflection by painting over the glass. You must change your expression. Likewise, if you want the world to reflect wealth, you must assume wealth within. The mirror cannot show what you refuse to feel. This is the divine genius behind imagination. The outer world is imagination congealed, solidified thought and sustained feeling. Everything you now call real began as an unseen vibration, a silent decree. The house, the car, the opportunity, all first imagined, then believed, then seen. You're surrounded by imagination made visible, but you've forgotten that you are its source. When you realize this, responsibility becomes power. You stop reacting and start creating. The same energy that once worried now commands. Every reaction is a seed. Plant fear and you harvest more fear. Plant faith and you reap miracles. This is the true wealth frequency. Not getting more but remembering you are the cause. And now to bring it all together, let me show you how to make this practical. How to align yourself nightly with the state of fulfillment until wealth becomes your natural vibration. Here's how you make it real. Each night, as the world grows quiet, treat sleep as sacred ritual. Lie down not as a struggler, but as a creator. Before you close your eyes, take a few breaths and let your body soften. You are entering the temple of creation, the doorway between seen and unseen. Now recall one simple scene that implies your wishes fulfilled. Not a long movie, but a short, vivid act. It might be a friend saying, "I'm so proud of you." It might be you opening a letter that reads, "Paid in full." It might be laughter in the home you dreamed of. Choose one moment that feels real. Then enter it. Don't watch it, be in it. Feel the texture of the scene. Hear the sounds. Smell the air. Most of all, feel the emotion that says, "This is done." As you drift toward sleep, let that feeling deepen until it becomes effortless. Don't force it. Allow it. The more natural it feels, the faster it manifests. You're not commanding the world. You're instructing your subconscious, and the subconscious never fails. It takes what you feel, expresses it through the bridge of events. In the morning, don't rush to test results. Act as though it's already so. Speak from fulfillment. Think from completion. Let the day flow naturally. You've already planted the seed. Don't dig it up to check if it's growing. This nightly practice is the most powerful discipline you will ever learn. It's the daily tuning of your consciousness back to the frequency of wealth. Do this for 7 nights, and the world will begin to rearrange itself. You'll notice coincidences, opportunities, small confirmations that feel almost miraculous. But remember, they are not miracles, and are laws in motion. And now that you know how to feel wealth, how to assume it, and how to sleep within it, we move to the next revelation. How the 1% command reality through the power of their word. For feeling is the vibration, but the word is the command that shapes vibration into form. Here's something that will change everything for you, if you hear it not with the ears of the outer man, but with the understanding of the inner. The universe does not obey your effort, your struggle, or your ambition. It obeys your word. But this word is not mere sound. It is the vibration of conviction. It is the tone of faith that lives beneath speech. You speak every moment of your life, not just with the mouth, but with your feeling, with your inner conversation, with your reaction to every scene you witness. The 1% are those who have learned to make every word, both spoken and unspoken, align with the law of assumption. They speak only from the end, never from the lack. Their word, like the word of God, never returns void. In Scripture it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." That is not history. It is psychology. The word is your imagination. Every inner statement you make with feeling becomes flesh. And what you call reality is merely the word fulfilled. Most people speak against themselves all day long, and then wonder why their lives oppose their desires. They say, "I can't afford this. Things never work out for me. I'm trying my best, but nothing changes." Each of those words is a decree, and the law, perfect and unjudging, obeys it precisely. There is no punishment in this. There is only reflection. To command reality, you must learn to speak from power, not to power. You don't beg the world to give you what you want. You declare that it already belongs to you. Feel the difference in these two phrases. I hope I'll be rich someday, and I am rich now. The first is vibration of waiting. The second is vibration of being. When you speak from being, you are speaking the language of God, the language of I am. This is the language that creates, sustains, and governs all form. The 1% speak this language instinctively. They don't talk about struggle or limitation. Their words reveal identity. Listen closely to a man of wealth. Not the one who flaunts his possessions, but the one who lives in quiet certainty. His words are few, his tone calm. His statements final. He never argues with appearances. He simply declares and allows. That calmness is the echo of mastery. The universe reads tone, not vocabulary. The tone of assurance moves mountains. The tone of anxiety creates walls. So start listening to yourself. What are you declaring daily without realizing it? Are your words shaping wealth or reinforcing want? Every I am you speak is a brushstroke on the canvas of reality. If you say, "I am tired, I am broke, I am unlucky," the subconscious takes those words as commands. You think you're describing life, but you're prescribing it. You are the author, not the witness. The outer world is your script in performance. I tell you, this law is infallible. Speak from faith and faith will appear. Speak from doubt and doubt will harden into form. Every word becomes seed. The 1% have mastered the art of planting only what they wish to harvest. But even deeper than speech is the inner dialogue, the constant stream of silent words you speak within. That's where your true decrees are written. And that's where your world is born. If you could record the private inner speech of the wealthy and the impoverished, you would find two completely different languages. The poor man's inner world is filled with argument, complaint, fear, and justification. The rich man's mind is quiet, assured, and already satisfied. It's not the bank account that separates them. It's the inner conversation. The poor man looks at lack and says, "This is all there is." The rich man sees lack and says, "That was once my old belief." The difference is subtle, but it's everything. Your inner conversation is your prayer. Every word you whisper to yourself becomes a command to your subconscious. And the subconscious never rejects a feeling. It accepts it as fact. So when you rehearse failure in thought, When you worry, when you entertain fear, you are praying for more of it. You might not mean to, but the law reads feeling, not intention. The inner voice of the 1% has one theme: assumption. They rehearse success before it happens. They speak inwardly as though everything they desire has already been completed. I once knew a woman who constantly repeated to herself, "Everything works in my favor." At first, she didn't believe it. She was drowning in debt, her relationships in turmoil. But she kept the phrase alive in her mind, not as hope, but as habit. She said it when she woke, as she walked, as she fell asleep. Slowly, her tone changed. It stopped being an affirmation and became a truth. And when that happened, the world began to move. Unexpected payments arrived. Old tensions dissolved. Opportunities opened. She wrote to me saying, "Florence, I didn't attract anything new. I just realized everything always working in my favor." That's how it works. You change your world not by action but by assumption. By altering the inner conversation that defines your life. If you want to change your life, don't start with doing. Start with saying. Begin with new inner words. Talk to yourself as the person you wish to be. Speak as the successful one, the healed one, the loved one. And as you do, the outer will mirror the new dialogue. Stop debating with thoughts crystallized. Speak new truths into being. Say, "I am wealthy." Even when the evidence denies it. Say, "I am free," even when the chains still rattle. The moment you speak it with conviction, the chains begin to dissolve. Not because you forced them to, but because they no longer belong to the identity you've assumed. The subconscious is like a loyal servant standing before its king. It listens not to your words, but to your tone. If your tone is casual, it waits. If your tone is uncertain, it hesitates. But if your tone is final, it obeys. The 1% have mastered that tone. Their inner voice carries authority, not anxiety. So tonight, pay attention to the words you think, not the words you say. Catch yourself mid-thought and ask, is this the speech of the king or the beggar? Change the sentence. Change the tone. You'll feel it immediately. That shift from pleading to declaring. That's the moment you've stepped onto the throne. But to understand how this inner speech shapes your world, we must go back to the beginning, to the principle that the word becomes flesh. Everything you now see, touch, and experience is nothing more than your inner words made visible. Every object, every event, every relationship began as a line of dialogue in the theater of your mind. You may have forgotten the words, but the play remembers. That is what it means when Scripture says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Your imagination is the creative word. It's not metaphorical. It's mechanical. The moment you speak inwardly with feeling, that vibration moves through the field of consciousness and solidifies as experience. You can test this easily. Begin to speak within yourself, as though were someone else entirely wealthier, freer, at peace. Maintain it for a few days and watch how the outer world subtly rearranges. Conversations shift. People behave differently. New opportunities appear. That is not coincidence. The word has taken on flesh. I remember a man who came to me many years ago, desperate to change his fortune. He had tried every technique, and nothing worked. I told him, "Stop trying to make things happen. Start declaring." He asked, "But won't I be lying?" I said, "Everything you see now was once an unseen lie someone dared to believe." He began to say within himself, I am a prosperous man. I am admired. Everything I touch prospers. Within months, his entire life changed, business flowed, relationships healed, and he confessed, Florence, I didn't do anything new. I just started speaking truth instead of fact. That's the secret. Facts are temporary. Truth is eternal. The truth is that you are the creator. The outer world is your echo. When you speak truth, that is speak from the end. The echo must change. This is the real law of attraction people talk about without understanding. You're not attracting, you're reproducing. The outer is your inner word reproduced in form. So begin now to speak differently. If the outer world says you are small, say within I am vast. If it says you are poor, say I am rich. Speak not to convince the world, but to convince yourself. For when you believe it inwardly, the world has no choice but to agree. The world is obedient imagination. The greatest secret of the 1% is that they never let the world's words define them. They define the world. They understand that language is the tool of creation and silence, when filled with feeling, is its highest form. But what gives their words such power? Why does one man's declaration move mountains while another's goes unheard? The answer lies not in vocabulary, but in tone, in the vibration of faith. Faith is not emotion, it is vibration. It is the steady hum of certainty beneath all words. You've heard people say, speak it into existence. But they leave out the essential ingredient. You must feel it into existence. Words without faith are empty shells. Faith without words is formless power. Combine the two, and you possess the creative word that shapes reality. The tone of faith is calm. It does not shout. It does not beg. It rests. The 1% have this tone in everything they do. Listen to them speak, and you'll notice they rarely use the language of effort. They say, I know this will work. They say I am not, I will be. Their tone is final. That finality is what creation recognizes. Faith doesn't require evidence. It creates evidence. It's the unseen conviction that bends the scene. When you speak from faith, you don't care how the result will come. You know it's done. And because you know, the law moves mountains to prove you right. You can cultivate this tone by practicing inner stillness. Sit in silence and imagine the result you desire. Don't visualize movement or action. Feel the quiet peace of completion. Then when you speak your affirmation, let it rise from that stillness. Say it once and mean it. You'll feel the resonance in your chest, a vibration of knowing. That's faith. There was a man who once asked me, how do I know when I truly believe? I said, when you no longer feel the need to ask. That's the tone. It's absence of doubt. The 1% don't wrestle with belief, they rest in it. Their faith is their wealth. And once you found this tone, this quiet authority, the final secret is knowing when to stop speaking altogether. For even the greatest king knows the power of silence. The highest form of command is silence. Once you've declared your word, you must let it be. To repeat is to doubt. To argue is to weaken the decree. The subconscious hears repetition as uncertainty, but silence is mastery. That's why the 1% don't chase, they rest. Their silence is not emptiness, it's faith fulfilled. After creation, God is said to have rested. Why? Because the word was spoken and nothing more was needed. So too must you learn to rest in your assumption. Don't look for signs. Don't question timing. Be silent and let the law unfold. The silence after your word is the proof of your belief. Imagine a king issuing an order. He doesn't repeat it every hour. He doesn't ask if it's been done. He trust is your command. That trust is your silence. When you can be still after declaring, I am wealthy, you've entered divine rest. And in that rest, creation moves. Every time you speak, you vibrate the universe. Every time you rest, you allow it to respond. Learn to balance the two. Declare from faith, then be silent in certainty. That's the rhythm of mastery, speech, and stillness, declaration, and rest. And now that you know how to command reality through the word, you must learn how to protect that word, how to maintain the mental atmosphere of a king, because no decree lasts long in a mind at war with itself. If there is one secret that separates the masters of wealth from the dreamers of it, it is this. The 1% have learned to guard the gates of the mind. They understand that imagination, once impregnated by thought, must bring forth its likeness in form. So they treat thought as sacred. They know that every idea entertained, every reaction indulged, is a seed thrown into the fertile soil of the subconscious. And that soil does not discriminate. It will grow weeds with the same devotion it grows fruit. The poor man allows every thought to wander freely through his mind. Fear, envy, doubt, and he calls it realism. The rich man chooses his thoughts deliberately and calls it faith. This is the mental diet of kings. You see, awareness is your sentinel, your invisible guardian standing at the gate of imagination. Its duty is not to fight, but to select. You can't stop thoughts from arising, just as you can't stop the wind from blowing. But you can decide which gusts enter your house and which pass by. Most people have surrendered that power without realizing it. They believe their thoughts are visitors. They don't see that they are the hosts. And whatever you host in consciousness, you must serve in experience. So begin to watch yourself. Watch how many times in an hour you speak inwardly of lack. How often you rehearse worry as though it were prayer. That's not harmless musing. That's creation in its infancy. The subconscious doesn't wait for ceremony. It listens every moment. The feeling behind your words is your faith. The repetition of that feeling is your decree. So guard the gate. Don't let fear cross the threshold, not even disguised as logic. Don't entertain envy under the mask of observation. The world you see tomorrow is being shaped by the thoughts you permit today. This is why Scripture tells you, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." It doesn't say by changing your actions, but by changing your thinking, for actions are shadows cast by thought. The 1% know this. They curate their inner world like art collectors. They study their own reactions and revise them immediately. They don't allow the outer world to dictate the inner weather. They command the climate of their mind. This vigilance isn't strain. It's discipline born of awareness. When a negative thought arises, don't fight it. Replace it. When the voice of fear says you'll fail, answer softly, I succeed. When doubt whispers it's not working, respond, everything is working in divine order. Speak as though the kingdom were already secure and soon it will be. The 1% are not positive thinkers. They are conscious choosers. They don't sugarcoat reality. They recreate it. I tell you, this is not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about remembering they cannot exist apart from you. The problem is not out there. It is the shadow of a state you've been dwelling in. Change the state and the shadow must vanish. That's the real work of guarding the gate. Not resisting darkness, but turning toward the light until darkness dissolves. But awareness alone is not enough. Once you've guarded the gates, you must learn to master the climate inside to shape the emotional atmosphere that sustains wealth itself. The world you experience is clothed in the texture of your emotions. It isn't your thoughts alone that shape it. It's the feeling behind them, the atmosphere they create. Think of yourself as a living weather system, and your emotional tone as the air you breathe. If you carry the chill of doubt, the world will mirror frost. If you radiate the warmth of gratitude, doors will open, conversations will flow, coincidences will multiply. The 1% are masters of atmosphere. They maintain the inner temperature of faith regardless of external storms. Understand this. The subconscious doesn't hear words. It feels vibration. You can say, "I am wealthy," while trembling in fear, and the law will obey the trembling. But when you feel abundance, even before you speak it, the universe bends to that frequency. Wealth consciousness is not about money. It's about mood. The rich live in a perpetual sense of enoughness. That's their secret. They don't hope to be rich someday. They feel rich now. Imagine a king walking through his palace. He doesn't marvel at every ornament or count his coins. He assumes wealth as natural as breath. His calm is his crown. That's the emotional state you must learn to carry. The calm of possession, the serenity of sufficiency. When you live that way, money becomes magnetized to you. You don't summon it, you allow it. I remember a student who once told me, "Florence, I've been affirming wealth for months and nothing has changed." I said, "Because you're affirming from lack, not love." He looked puzzled. I explained, "You say I am rich as though it were medicine to cure poverty. But the true statement of wealth feels like gratitude, not struggle." 2 weeks later, he wrote to me, "I finally felt it. The joy of it even when nothing had arrived, and then everything arrived. That's the key. Feel the end. Don't wait for proof to celebrate. Celebrate to create proof. Feel now what you've been waiting to feel later. It's the same emotion, only misplaced in time. The 1% have simply learned to feel early. That's why their results come faster. You can begin to change your emotional atmosphere right now. Close your eyes and recall one thing in your life you're truly grateful for. Hold that feeling, not the memory, but the emotion until it expands. Let it grow until it covers everything around you. That warmth you feel, that inner glow, is the vibration of wealth. The world responds to that, not to effort. Wealth doesn't rush, it rests. It doesn't demand, it knows. And when you cultivate that knowing, everything begins to rearrange itself. The outer may wobble, but the inner remains still. And eventually, the outer stillness must match the inner. But gratitude is more than an emotion. It's the engine of the entire process. It's what stabilizes your frequency and sews your assumption into fact. Let's go deeper into the alchemy of gratitude. Gratitude is the atmosphere of completion. It's not just saying thank you. It's feeling thank you. When you feel gratitude, you're declaring to the universe, "It is done." The ungrateful man can pray for years and receive nothing because his prayer carries the vibration of absence. The grateful man prays once and rests because his prayer carries the vibration of fulfillment. Gratitude is the frequency of the fulfilled wish. The 1% live in gratitude naturally. They don't wait for reason. They begin from it. They know that appreciation multiplies what it touches. Every time you say thank you sincerely, You harmonize with the law of increase. You acknowledge abundance, and acknowledgement is the signal that opens the next channel of supply. The ungrateful mind is closed. It believes nothing more can come. The grateful mind is open. It expects miracles and finds them everywhere. Once a man came to me disheartened, saying, "Florence, I have nothing to be thankful for." I said, "Then be thankful for breath." He laughed, but I continued, "Thankfulness is not a reaction. It's a cause. Gratitude is the sound that summons more to be grateful for." He began to practice it not as a technique, but as a way of being. Each morning he found one thing to bless: his health, his family, even his challenges. Within months, his entire life transformed. Opportunities came without effort. Debts dissolved. He attuned himself to the frequency of grace. Gratitude is faith's resting face. It is silent confidence that the law has already acted. When you feel thankful, you stop searching. You relax. And in that relaxation, the subconscious completes its work. That's why I tell my students, replace "I need" with "thank you." The difference is worlds apart. I need declares lack. Thank you declares receipt. The universe is a mirror. It can only give you believe you already have. Start small. Each night before sleep, review the day and find 3 things, however simple, to bless. The more you bless, the more you'll find. Soon you'll notice that gratitude becomes automatic, like breathing. And when that happens, you stabilize the state of wealth. You no longer oscillate between doubt and faith. You live in quiet certainty. This is the heart of the 1%'s vibration. They've made gratitude habitual. It's their background music. It plays every thought, every action, every moment of rest. That's why they move through life with ease. They're not waiting for blessings. They are the blessing. And once gratitude becomes natural, persistence becomes effortless because you're no longer fighting for belief. You're resting in it. Let's explore how persistence transforms invisible faith into visible fact. Persistence is not stubbornness. It's not the clenched jaw of willpower, but the quiet repetition of faith. It's the refusal to descend from the state of fulfillment, no matter what appearances suggest. The 1% understand this law instinctively. They don't let time discourage them, because they know time is only the servant of assumption. Every great manifestation moves through the same rhythm: assumption, persistence, realization. The outer world always lags behind the inner by a degree. Most people, when they see no immediate proof, abandon the state and return to lack. The wise persist. They remain faithful to the unseen until it crystallizes. They know that feeling real precedes being real. In The Power of Awareness, I wrote, "He who persists in the assumption will see it harden into fact." That is the law in a single line. No exception, no delay. Your persistence is the guarantee of materialization. Each time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you're adding substance to the invisible structure of your desire. Eventually, it becomes so dense that it must appear. I remember a student who imagined her promotion for months. Nothing seemed to move. Her colleagues were chosen over her again and again, but she refused to waver. Each night she fell asleep, feeling herself congratulated, hearing her boss say, "You've earned it." One morning, without warning, her superior resigned, and she was offered the position the same day. She said, "Florence, I didn't even want it anymore. I just knew it was mine." That's the power of persistence. When the state becomes natural, creation completes itself. Persistence is the proof of belief. You don't persist in what you doubt. You persist in what you know. It's faith carried through time. The 1% don't give up because they never question whether the law works. They know it works, and their only task is to remain faithful long enough to watch it unfold. So persist. When doubt knocks, remain still. When appearances contradict you, smile and say, "It's already done." When nothing happens, remember the seed is germinating underground. Don't dig it up. Water it with faith. The world cannot resist a mind that refuses to move from conviction. And now, having mastered your mind, your words, and your emotions, it's time to fulfill the final law of wealth, the law of circulation. The art of giving as God gives, effortlessly and without fear. There is a rhythm to life that no man can escape, a sacred breath that inhales and exhales through all creation, and wealth like breath must circulate to remain alive. The poor man clings to his little and calls it safety. The rich man releases his abundance and calls it faith. Yet both are living by the same law. Only one is obeying it consciously, while the other fights against it in fear. The law of circulation is not about giving from duty or loss. It's the awareness that giving and receiving are one continuous act, one motion of the same divine current. You can no more give without receiving than you can inhale without exhaling. The 1% live by this law instinctively. They don't hoard. They let energy move. They don't fear depletion. They know supply is infinite when consciousness knows itself as the source. Think of a river always flowing, always giving. The water that leaves its source never worries about return. It knows the law of flow ensures its replenishment. But when that river is dammed by fear, it stagnates. It begins to smell, to breed disease. So too does the consciousness that clings. The moment you hold too tightly to what you have, you choke the current that sustains it. You must give to prove to yourself that you already possess. For you cannot give what you do not have. Giving is not charity. It's creative affirmation. Every time you give, whether it's a coin, a smile, or a blessing, you declare to your subconscious, "I have more than enough." When I was first learning this law, I tested it with something small. I began to give freely to those who crossed my path, not from obligation, but from joy. I gave to those who could not return it, and I gave to those who could. I didn't calculate. I didn't measure. I simply gave from the awareness that I am the source. Soon I noticed something curious as I gave. More began to flow. Unlooked for gifts, unexpected opportunities, invisible channels of provision began to appear as though the universe itself were echoing back. I am your supply. In your faith is your fortune. I wrote to him that hath it shall be given. That isn't favoritism. It's frequency. When you know you have, you act from abundance. And when you act from abundance, you align with the flow of divine provision. The poor man asks for more because he sees lack. The rich man gives because he sees overflow. The giving itself is the evidence of faith. It says, "I trust that supply is endless." So don't ask, "What if I lose by giving?" Ask instead, "What if I cut off the flow by withholding?" Life does not reward stagnation. The 1% give not to be seen, not to receive applause or recognition. But because giving is their nature, they understand that true wealth is not measured by possession, but by circulation. Tonight, begin to practice this law. Don't give from fear or duty. Give from joy. Give from the knowing that you are the wellspring of abundance. And each time you give, Whether it's a gift, a kind word, or even a vision of another's blessing, affirm within yourself, I give as God gives freely, joyfully, endlessly. The law will respond with precision, and your world will begin to mirror your generosity in forms you could never plan. But giving is more than an action. It's a declaration of identity. When you give, you are saying something profound to your own subconscious. I am already what I seek. Let's go deeper into that, into the art of giving as declaration. Giving is a silent sermon. It's the soul's way of declaring I am. When you give, you are affirming your divine identity as the source of supply, not its seeker. The world teaches that you give after you receive. But the law of consciousness reverses that order. You must give before you see evidence, because giving itself is the evidence of belief. The 1% know this secret. They give as if the supply were endless, because in consciousness it is. To give is to embody the truth that all wealth already flows from within. You're not handing something away. You're extending yourself, multiplying your image in another. The poor man thinks giving diminishes him. The rich man knows it expands him. The poor man gives with trembling hands, hoping for return. The rich man gives with laughter, knowing return is inevitable. I remember a young artist who once came to me saying, "Florence, I want to prosper, but I have nothing to give." I told him, "Then give imagination." He looked confused. So I explained, "Bless others your thought. Picture them happy, successful, fulfilled. That is giving in the highest form. You will never outgive imagination, for it's the currency of God." He began each morning sending blessings to those he envied, picturing their joy until he felt it as his own. Within months, his own work began to sell, and his envy turned to gratitude. He had discovered the divine exchange. To give imaginatively is to receive exponentially. Every act of generosity is a statement to the subconscious. I am abundant enough to share, and the subconscious, taking you at your word, produces circumstances that match your assumption. The one who gives from fullness multiplies his fullness. The one who withholds declares lack and sees it increase. This is the hidden geometry of wealth. What you extend returns amplified. Don't measure your giving by quantity. Measure it by quality, by the feeling behind it. Give with joy. Give with peace. Give without expectation. That vibration alone ensures increase. The universe, which is only your own consciousness, reflected, cannot help but return to you what you have radiated. When you bless another, you bless yourself. When you give to another, you affirm the presence of God in you both. Remember, giving is not performance. It's proof. It proves you believe in abundance more than appearances. And when that belief becomes natural, wealth follows as effortlessly as breath. But there is a subtler art beyond giving things. It is the art of giving blessings. The 1% do this constantly, whether they realize it or not. They bless every transaction, every meeting, every exchange. Let's explore this unseen act of creation. The blessing practice. To bless is to call forth good. It's not superstition or sentiment. It's creative decree. The act of blessing turns imagination into grace. Because in blessing, you're declaring divine order already present. The 1% may not use this language, but they live by its vibration. They see opportunity where others see threat, value where others see lack. That is a blessing in disguise. It's the power to reframe everything through the lens of abundance. I bless everything I touch, not ritual, but as remembrance. When I handle money, I bless it not for its amount but for its circulation. I say quietly, you are divine energy in motion. Multiply, bless in return. When I meet someone, I bless them silently, saying within you are wealth in form, light in disguise. When you do this, you begin to awaken the divinity hidden in all things. Your world becomes alive with meaning. There was a woman in my audience once who began to bless everything. She had previously complained about her small apartment, her modest job, even the bills that came due. Within weeks, her rent was lowered, her salary increased, and her peace deepened beyond measure. She said, Florence, it feels like I live in a different universe. I told her, you do. You've blessed your way into it. The act of blessing transforms, not because it changes outer things directly, but because it changes you. It shifts your vibration from criticism to creation, from scarcity to sufficiency. Every blessing is an act of faith. It says, I see God here even if the world does not. And wherever you acknowledge divinity, divinity awakens. Start small. Bless your food, your home, your body, your money. Bless those who frustrate you, especially them. Bless the city you live in. Bless your past. The more you bless, the more you realize there is nothing unbabble. And when your world becomes filled with blessing, it becomes impossible for lack to remain. The 1% may call it gratitude, positive energy, or mindset. But what they are really practicing is this ancient art of blessing. It's their silent alignment with the divine current of good. They send out light and light returns. Blessing is giving without transaction, loving without agenda. It's the invisible tithe of the awakened soul. And when blessing becomes your nature, giving ceases to feel like loss. You begin to live in overflow, where generosity is not effort but instinct. That's the final stage of the divine exchange. The joy of overflow. When you live in awareness of your divine source, giving no longer drains you. It energizes you. You realize that abundance was never a quantity, but a quality of being. The 1% live perpetually in this state of overflow. They give not because they must, but because they cannot help it. Their cup runs over. That's the natural state of consciousness aligned with God. It overflows effortlessly. To live in overflow is to know that there is nothing to lose. For all comes from the same infinite well. Every act of generosity refills it. Every expression of love expands it. This is why I say you cannot outgive God, for God is your own awareness, and awareness expands through expression. The more you give, the more of yourself you discover. The outer world calls this luck or coincidence, sudden opportunities, unexpected windfalls, chance encounters. But it is the law fulfilling itself. Overflow attracts overflow. Once you stop measuring by effort and start flowing by being, the universe begins to echo your abundance. You give and life rushes to keep pace. Imagine a sun shining in the sky, never measuring its light, never fearing depletion. That's the symbol of your consciousness when awakened. The sun does not say, I've given too much today. It gives because it is giving. That's the law of overflow, giving as identity, not action. I tell you, when you reach this state, everything changes. You stop worrying about how, when, or where your blessings will appear. You trust the rhythm of circulation. You know that every gift returns, multiplied not as reward, but as reflection. You move through the world with open hands, open heart, open mind, and the universe pours itself through you. This is the divine exchange, giving as being. It's the end of fear and the birth of freedom. The 1% live there permanently. The rest of humanity glimpses it only in rare moments of joy. But you can make it your home. So tonight, decide to live in overflow. Bless without reason. Give without measure. Smile at the stranger. Release your tight grip on outcomes. Say silently, I am the source, and I give as the source. You'll feel something inside you expand, a quiet joy, a radiant warmth. That is God recognizing Himself as you. And when that happens, your entire life becomes the evidence of divine abundance. And now that you've remembered of giving and receiving, the final step is to live the frequency daily, to make it the very breath of your existence. Let's enter that sacred rhythm together. The practice of living the frequency. When dawn breaks and your eyes open to a new day, you are not merely waking from sleep. You are being reborn into creation. Every morning is the resurrection of consciousness, and every awakening is a chance to begin anew. The 1% understand this. They know the first moments after waking are the most sacred. For the subconscious is still malleable, still listening, still humming with the impressions of the night before. They rise not into habit, but into awareness. They do not reach first for their phones, their worries, their plans. They reach for the state they wish to live in. They know that what they assume in the first light of day will echo through every event that follows. So before your feet even touch the floor, pause. Feel the stillness of the morning, the air before thought, the silence before movement. That's where your power. Within yourself, I am the source. Feel the truth of it, even if only for a moment. Don't rush. Let the vibration of those words ripple through you like sunlight spreading across the surface of calm water. This is not an affirmation to force. It's a remembrance to allow. You're not trying to convince yourself of something new. You're returning to what has always been true. From this state, imagine the day ahead has already fulfilled. See yourself moving through it with grace, receiving with ease, giving without fear. Hear the sounds of laughter, of success, of gratitude. Feel the quiet satisfaction of things going your way, not by chance, but by law. You are tuning your instrument to the wealth frequency. And when you step into the day, every interaction, every coincidence, every seeming accident becomes part of the music. The 1% live like this without calling it a practice. They wake in command, not in confusion. Their minds are not random fields of thought, but well-tended gardens. They understand that the consciousness they awaken in determines the harvest they reap. So start your day not with effort, but with assumption. You are not preparing for success. You are remembering it. You are not hoping for wealth. You are being it. Even as you walk, as you eat, as you speak, carry that quiet undertone of certainty. Let others rush and worry. You will not. You will move through the day as though every moment were already blessed because it is. The law cannot betray itself. What you assume in consciousness, you experience in time. The day will rise to meet your vibration. And if you ever forget, if your mind wanders into old habits of doubt, don't condemn yourself. Simply pause, breathe, and return to the state. Whisper again, I am the source. It will always bring you back. But morning alignment alone is not enough. The true test of mastery comes when the world contradicts your assumption. When appearances deny your inner knowing. How you walk through those moments defines whether you merely know the law or live it. Life will test your assumption, not to punish you, but to prove you. The bridge of incidents, those seeming coincidences, those unexpected turns will arise to bring about your desire. But if you are untrained in faith, you will mistake the bridge for a barrier. You will see challenge and think it's not working. Yet I tell you that is the very moment the law is working at its finest. Every seeming obstacle is a shadow cast by the unseen fulfillment approaching you. The 1% understand this principle profoundly. They do not react to appearances. They interpret them through faith. When the outer world trembles, they remain still. When plans fall through, they smile quietly, knowing that unseen arrangements are being made. They are stewards of their state, not slaves to circumstance. To practice daily stewardship means to guard your consciousness as though it were treasure, for it is. You must learn to speak only from completion, even when the outer world tempts you to complain. The moment you speak as the unfulfilled, you descend from your throne. Every complaint is a spell cast backward. The wise refuse to utter it. So as you move through your day, remain aware. When doubt whispers, answer with certainty. When worry arises, remind yourself, the law is perfect and I am its proof. When you find yourself checking for results, remember that checking delays manifestation. The seed doesn't grow faster because you dig it up. It grows because you trust the soil. Every reaction is a choice. The 1% choose peace over panic, gratitude over grasping, command over confusion. They know that energy must serve them, not the other way around. This is why they appear unbothered by fluctuations, why they remain graceful in uncertainty. They know uncertainty itself is illusion. You too can live this way. It begins with one decision. Refuse to break your assumption. No matter what happens, hold to the state of fulfillment. Repeat it inwardly until it becomes natural. Eventually, the outer will conform because the outer has no will of its own. It is consciousness congealed, your inner conversation made visible. And when the day ends, do not measure success by what happened outwardly, but by how steadfastly you remained inwardly. Did you dwell in the state of completion, or did you abandon it at the first sign of contradiction? Be honest, but be kind. The law does not judge, it mirrors. And as the day closes, the most powerful moment arrives, the night. For sleep is the altar upon which all assumptions are laid. Let us now enter that sacred practice, the nightly revision. When the sun sinks and the world grows quiet, creation begins anew. The outer man calls it rest, but the awakened man calls it regeneration. For in sleep, the conscious and the subconscious merge, and imagination becomes the only reality. Whatever feeling you take into that state will be impressed upon the infinite. It will grow while you sleep and reappear as form when you wake. That is why the 1% guard the doorway of sleep as holy ground. They do not enter it burdened by worry or resentment. They cleanse the mind before they close the eyes. They revise their day. This practice, simple yet divine, is one of the most powerful acts in the entire art of assumption. Before you drift into sleep, review the day as though you were reading a script. But here is the secret. Rewrite it. Take any moment that disturbed you, the rejection, the mistake, the argument, and imagine it as you wish it had been. Feel the relief, the peace, the satisfaction of having lived it rightly. Hear the words you wish had been spoken. See the results you desired. Don't force flow. It doesn't matter that it already happened. The past is not behind you. It is within you, waiting to be reshaped. You may wonder, can revising the past change the future? I tell you, they are not two. They are one continuum of imagination. When you revise, you alter the cause and the effect must follow. You will find that those same people, those same situations will begin to behave differently, as though the original event never occurred. The world will rearrange itself to match your new assumption. I once practiced this when a man had wronged me in business. Rather than react or seek revenge, I revised. That night, I imagined him apologizing, thanking me, speaking kindly. Within days, I received a letter from him, not only apologizing, but proposing a new opportunity far greater than the first. That is revision in action. The world cannot resist a consciousness that refuses to dwell in grievance. So each night, cleanse your imagination. Don't carry old vibrations into sleep. Enter the night in peace. As you drift, affirm quietly, "It is done." Feel gratitude for the day as you've rewritten it, not as it was lived. Sleep as the fulfilled self, for the subconscious, like faithful soil, will bring forth whatever seed you plant in its twilight. This is how the 1% live. They do not end a day with complaint. They end it with creation. Their nights are not escapes. They are workshops. And as you practice this rhythm, morning alignment, daily stewardship, nightly revision, a new habit begins to form. A steady pulse of faith that needs no reminder. That is the rhythm of mastery. The rhythm of the 1%. When faith ceases to be an act and becomes a rhythm, you have entered the kingdom of effortless creation. The 1% live in this rhythm as naturally as you breathe. They no longer remind themselves to assume. They simply are. It's not practice anymore. It's nature. That's where you're heading. And every moment of persistence brings you closer. Faith, when sustained, becomes familiarity. Familiarity becomes identity. And identity, once assumed, governs all experience. This is why I say you do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. When your state becomes consistent, your results become constant. This rhythm is simple. Morning remembrance, daily stewardship, nightly revision. Each practice reinforces the other. Morning sets the tone. Day sustains a vibration. Night seals it. Over time, they merge into one seamless state of being. You begin to live in permanent awareness of the fulfilled wish. In this rhythm, doubt fades. Effort disappears. You no longer chase results. You expect them. You no longer hope. You know. And because you know, the law rushes to confirm your assumption. Life becomes synchronistic, fluid, almost musical. You move in harmony with the unseen orchestra of imagination. I remember once realizing that this rhythm had taken over my life. I no longer practiced the law. I lived it. My inner conversations were naturally positive. My reactions naturally calm, my sleep naturally peaceful. Everything I desired unfolded with uncanny ease. And I understood then that the law doesn't require effort. It requires consistency. You can't visit the state occasionally. You must dwell in it. Let your faith be like the beating of your heart, unconscious, constant, sustaining. Don't count days or demand signs. Simply live as the one who already has. The rhythm will carry you. And when others ask how you manifest so effortlessly, you'll smile quietly, for there will be nothing to explain. You'll know the truth. The 1% have always known wealth is not achieved. It's remembered. The frequency of completion isn't found. It's lived. And now, my friend, having walked through the law of feeling, of speech, of thought, and of giving, it is time to seal this knowledge with finality, to rest in the knowing that you are the wealth frequency itself, and that your word is the law fulfilled. And now, my friend, as we come to the close of this night's revelation, let us stand together in the stillness that follows truth. Not the stillness of absence, but the stillness of fulfillment. Feel it for a moment. The quiet after the storm of effort. The silence that comes when there is nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove, nothing left to become. That silence is the sound of completion. It is not emptiness. It is fullness beyond measure. It is the hum of the universe echoing through you. The soundless sound of wealth itself. It has no beginning and no end. Because it was never created, it simply is. That's the secret the 1% live by. Though most of them do not know it by name. They may call it luck, alignment, mindset, or energy. But what they are really living in is the sound of completion. The perpetual knowing that all things are finished within consciousness before they appear without. I tell you, there is no difference between you and them. The same law that moves through the richest man moves through you. The same awareness that sustains galaxies sustains your breath. The only distinction has been state. One has lived from the vibration of having, the other from the vibration of wanting. But now you know, and once you know, you cannot unknow. The truth has a way of dissolving illusion so completely that the old patterns can no longer hold their form. From this night forward, every time you close your eyes, you will feel it. That quiet current of divine sufficiency that whispers, I am. That is the wealth frequency. You don't need to search for it, listen for it, or earn it. You are. You have always been it. For so long, you've been told that wealth is something you acquire, something earned, something granted to the few who work harder, hustle longer, strive more ruthlessly. But I tell you, that's the greatest illusion of all. Wealth is not earned. It's remembered. It's the remembrance of your own divine identity. When you remember who you are, imagination itself, awareness itself, the Creator made visible, you stop asking when will Akin begin, declaring it is done. From that declaration, everything flows. The world is imagination solidified. It can only reflect your conviction. So let us seal tonight's teaching with the final affirmation, not as repetition, but as revelation. Speak these words silently or aloud, but feel them with every fiber of your being. I am the soundless sound of wealth. I am the fulfilled word. I do not chase. I command. I do not wait. Let those words echo in the chambers of your mind until they vibrate through your entire being. Feel how the air around you begins to thicken, how the energy in the room shifts. That is consciousness aligning with itself. That is you awakening as the one who was never lacking, never waiting, never incomplete. You see, my friend, creation is already finished. The entire script of life. Every success, every miracle, every joy already exists in the invisible world of imagination. You are not here to create it. You are here to select it. Every desire you've ever had was simply an invitation from a version of yourself that already exists. When you feel the wish fulfilled, you merge with that version. You step into that reality not through effort, but through vibration. This is the mystery of it is done. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're remembering that it already has. The 1% live this truth instinctively. They don't chase outcomes because they know the outcome was chosen the moment they felt it real. So tonight I invite you to stop running, to stop trying, to stop reaching. Sit quietly and remember, Close your eyes and listen, not with the outer ear, but with the inner awareness. There, beneath the noise of thought, beneath the waves of emotion, you will hear it. That faint eternal hum that is the song of being, the sound of creation, the wealth frequency itself. It is the tone of I am. When you dwell at it, everything else fades into harmony. Fear cannot live there. Doubt dissolves there. Even desire becomes still there, because in that vibration everything is already yours. The greatest lie the world tells you is that you must work to prove your worth. But the law says, be still and know that I am God. That knowing is the highest form of wealth. When you live from that state, every need is met before it arises. Every door opens before you knock. Every answer arrives before the question forms. This is not fantasy. It's physics of consciousness. The outer world is obedient to the inner. And when the inner is full, the outer must overflow. So from this moment on, live as the 1%. Live not in arrogance, but in quiet mastery. Fall asleep each night in the vibration of having. Wake each morning in the rhythm of faith. Walk through the day as though every step were already blessed, every interaction already sacred. Speak as one whose words shape reality. Think as one who knows thought is destiny. Give as one who cannot lack. And when challenges appear, smile. For they are only the echo of old vibrations, dissolving in the light of your new awareness. You are not learning to become rich. You are unlearning to be poor in consciousness. Poverty was never a lack of money. It was a lack of remembrance. But now you remember. You've heard the law. You felt the frequency. You've lived the imagination. And because of that, your world must change. It cannot do otherwise. Now I want you to do something very simple. Before you sleep tonight, lie down and feel the calm certainty of completion. Whisper inwardly, it is done. Don't say it as a hope or a wish. Say it as a command from God to Himself. Feel how the words land in your body, steady, grounded, final. That is the point of creation. That is the wealth frequency vibrating in your bones. Let it rock you to sleep. Let it speak through your dreams. Let it awaken in you as manifestation. And in the days that follow, watch quietly as the outer rearranges itself. Don't rush it, don't test it, don't doubt it. Simply know. For knowing is the power that moves all things. You will see opportunities appear where none existed. People show up who carry the answers you needed, and circumstances align as if choreographed by unseen hands. That's not coincidence. It's correspondence. It's your consciousness returning to you in form. So, as we end this journey, let these final words settle deep into your being. You are the wealth you seek. You are the source you've been praying to. You are the frequency the world calls the 1%. When you walk as that, speak as that, and rest as that, you will discover that life itself bends to your assumption. The wind will change direction to favor you. The tide will carry you forward without effort, and everything you touch will bear witness to the power that created worlds, the power that you are. Now, my beloved friend, rest not as a seeker, but as a sovereign. Sleep tonight in the knowing that your word has been spoken. Your prayer has been answered. Your desire has been fulfilled. Let the sound of completion sing you into peace. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are not waiting somewhere beyond the stars. They are within you, and they always have been. And when you are ready to deepen this knowing, to take it beyond frequency into the command of divine word, listen to my next revelation. Speak this word and money will obey. In that teaching, I will reveal the phrase that turns imagination into command, the inner sound that moves creation itself. But for tonight, be still. The law has heard you. The world is already shifting. All that remains is for you to rest in a truth that it is finished. Sleep in the light of fulfillment. And when you wake, you will rise as the wealth frequency made flesh, the one who no longer chases but commands. Good night, my friend. Sleep as the 1%. Wake as the infinite. And now, as all the words have been spoken and all the truths have been unveiled, let us enter the silence. Not the silence of ending, but the silence of beginning. For in truth there are no endings, only awakenings. The silence I speak of is not emptiness, not absence, not void. It is the living presence of awareness itself. That sacred stillness that holds the stars in orbit, that breathes through your lungs, that dreams through your imagination. It is the mother of all creation, the eternal womb from which every sound, every form, every possibility emerges. It is what you were before you learned your name, before you believed yourself to be separate from life, before you forgot that imagination is God. In this silence, you discover that you were never waiting for abundance to arrive. It was waiting for you to listen. The universe has been whispering through every coincidence, every impulse, every dream saying, I am already here. Every desire you have ever felt was not a message of lack, but a memory of fulfillment. You desired it because in some dimension of consciousness it already existed. The feeling of wanting was simply your soul tugging you back toward your completed self. When you realize that desire transforms into gratitude, you stop asking when will it come and start saying thank you. I already have it. That shift is the bridge between worlds. There is something miraculous that happens when you live from this understanding. Life stops feeling like effort and begins to flow like music. The timing of things becomes uncanny. The right person calls. The right opportunity unfolds. The right door opens. All it feels almost as if life itself is conspiring in your favor. But in truth, it always was. The only change is that you've stopped fighting the current and started moving with it. This is what I mean when I say that imagination creates reality. It's not a poetic metaphor. It's an imagine and the world responds. You assume and creation reconfigures itself to match. You feel and form solidifies around that feeling. In this state, you no longer treat wealth as something external. You understand that money, opportunity, success, they are all reflections of an inner state. They are mirrors showing you the quality of your own consciousness. If you wish to change the reflection, you do not reach for the mirror. You change your face. You revise the self you are imagining yourself to be. Every time you say I am, you are sculpting that self. You are chiseling eternity into form. That is the divine art, to speak as God speaks, to feel as God feels, to know that everything you claim in consciousness must appear in experience. So when you wake tomorrow, do not rush into the noise of the world. Linger for a few seconds in the silence before thought. Feel that subtle hum beneath awareness. The soundless sound we spoke of. That is your true nature. That is the wealth frequency in its purest form. From there, rise slowly. Not as a man bound by circumstances, but as the consciousness that shapes them. Move through your day with deliberate ease. When challenges arise, treat them not as enemies, but as shadows, evidence that light is near. Say quietly to yourself, "This too is God in disguise," and bless it until it transforms. And as you give, whether in word, in deed, or in imagination, give without calculation. Let generosity become your default language. For every act of true giving multiplies itself. Every time you bless another, you are expanding the boundaries of your own being. Remember always that to give is to prove that you already have, and to bless is to remind yourself that you are blessed. The circulation of wealth begins and ends in you. You are both source and stream, giver and receiver, cause and effect. There will be moments when the outer world tests this knowing. You will see appearances that contradict your assumption, delays that seem unkind, results that seem uncertain. Do not be moved. Appearances are nothing but the echo of old thoughts fading away. The fact that they still linger means only that the past is dissolving. Stand still and watch it pass. Do not let the shadow of yesterday darken the dawn of today. The law is faithful. It cannot fail. What you assume in consciousness must crystallize in time. That is as certain as sunrise. Every night as you drift into sleep, do not count hours. Do not measure progress. Simply return to that inner place of fulfillment and whisper, "It is done." Feel yourself surrounded by quiet satisfaction. Know that you are resting not in uncertainty, but in completion. That feeling is the secret door, the entry into the invisible workshop of the divine. When you pass through it in faith, you enter the dimension where all things are already finished, already yours. And when you wake, you bring that dimension with you into this one. This is the mystery of manifestation. You do not change the world by fighting it. You change it by fulfilling it in imagination. You do not chase results. You assume identity. You do not pray to something outside. You speak as the power within. That is what it means to live as the 1%. They are not special. They are not chosen. They are simply aware of who they are while the rest of the world sleeps. But you now are awake, and once awakened, you cannot return to ignorance. Do not let the simplicity of this truth deceive you. The mind will try to complicate it, to add steps, to invent rituals, to demand proof. But the law is not complicated. It is the child's logic of the soul. I imagine, therefore it is. That is all. The outer mind resists because it wants control. But the inner heart knows because it already is. So trust the heart, live from its assurance, act from its peace. And let every word that leaves your mouth, every thought that crosses your mind, every feeling that stirs in your chest declare the same truth. I am. For that I am is the beginning and the end of all wealth, all creation, all being. It is the name of God written in the language of vibration. When you speak it with awareness, you summon universes into motion. When you forget it, you fall into illusion. But even then, the law remains faithful. Even then, the silence waits for you, patient, unchanging, eternal. And so I leave you now in that silence, not as farewell, but as fulfillment. Let it wrap around you like light, gentle yet infinite. Let it move through you as breath, slow and steady. Let it remind you that you were never seeking to become anything. You were only remembering what you already are. The living imagination of God, the soundless sound of wealth, the Word made flesh. Rest now. Rest not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. The law is working through you, as you for you. The dream has been chosen, the command spoken, the creation complete. All that remains is the joy of watching it unfold. And when you rise tomorrow, Rise as the fulfilled one. Walk softly, speak with certainty, and let your every action proclaim the same eternal truth. I am the wealth frequency. Go now and live as the silence that creates worlds. Before the mind folds itself into sleep, and the last echoes of thought dissolve into the vastness of the unseen, I want you to rest. Truly rest in what has been said, not as memory, but as revelation. Because what has unfolded here tonight is not merely teaching. It is remembrance. It is the rediscovery of the truth that has followed you since before time began. That you are the consciousness through which the infinite expresses itself. You have been told this in parables, whispered to in dreams, hinted at in the hush between heartbeats. Yet tonight it takes form in full recognition. You are the light, and the light does not strive to shine. It simply shines because that is its nature. The light does not ask the darkness for permission to exist. It does not battle the shadow or wait for dawn. It is the dawn. You, my beloved friend, are that same eternal light. You are the wealth you seek, the power you admire, the peace you long for. The distance between where you are and what you desire is an illusion drawn by the outer senses. But within you, all distances collapse into one point, the point of awareness. Every treasure, every answer, every love you could ever desire rests within that single luminous center that whispers, I am. When you finally understand this, life becomes breathtaking in its simplicity. You stop trying to manipulate the outer world because you realize it has no reality independent of your inner world. The 1% appear powerful, not because they possess something you lack, but because they live closer to that center. They may call it confidence, charisma, intuition, or luck. But all of those are merely the outer garments of inner knowing. When you stand in the center of your being and declare I am, the world rearranges itself around that declaration. The elements obey, circumstances yield, people appear, paths clear. For the entire universe is consciousness. And consciousness, when claimed, commands all things. You have spent so much of your life seeking validation, waiting for signs, yearning for proof that you are worthy of what you dream of. But hear me now, worthiness is not something you earn. It is something you are. You were born worthy because you were born as God in motion. You are not the small flicker in the vast night. You are the night itself illuminated. All that remains is to live as that knowing. To stop contracting into fear and expand into remembrance. The great shift happens not when the world changes, but when you finally stop trying to fix what was never broken. Sit for a moment now and breathe. Feel that quiet awareness behind the breath. Don't force it, don't chase it, just notice it. The still observing presence without judgment that existed before this moment and will exist long after. That awareness is your eternal wealth. It is beyond money, beyond success, beyond time. When you rest in it, you realize that all these outer symbols, the house, the career, the bank account, are but mirrors, reflecting your relationship to yourself. The more you recognize your completeness within, the more effortlessly those mirrors adjust to show abundance without. If you could see yourself as I see you now, luminous, infinite, limitless, you would laugh at every fear you ever held. You would look upon your so-called problems and see them for what they are. Shadows cast by misunderstanding. You would know that there is no enemy to defeat, only illusion to dissolve. Every struggle you have ever faced was Universe's way of guiding you back to this awareness. Even your delays and disappointments were disguised blessings designed to show you that you could never lose what you are. And when you finally stop resisting what is, when you relax into the gentle rhythm of divine order, something miraculous happens. You begin to see God everywhere. You see Him in the faces of strangers, in the breeze that brushes your skin, in the ordinary sunlight spilling across your floor. You see that everything is alive with the same consciousness that animates you. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean pretending to be a drop. Every wave of life, every tide of circumstance, every shift of fortune, it is all you moving within yourself, discovering yourself, loving yourself. This is the true meaning of mastery, not the power to control the outer world, but the peace of knowing you already are the world. The 1% live unconsciously from this truth. The mystic lives consciously from it. Both experience wealth, but only one experiences freedom. Wealth without awareness is bondage. Wealth with awareness is liberation. You now awakened are free. So what remains? Only to live with gentle confidence, to move with divine ease, to love without fear, and to give without measure. Let every word you speak be soft with certainty. Let every thought you think be heavy with truth. Let every step you take be guided by that inner rhythm that says, all is well for I am. You will find that in this state miracles cease to be exceptions. They become the natural flow of your days. You will no longer speak of manifestation, because manifestation will simply be the way you breathe. And when you lie down each night, don't count what's missing. Count what's eternal. Don't worry about what will happen. Rest in what already is. The same power that moves the planets is moving through your heart. The same law that governs creation is breathing through your imagination. You are not apart from it. You are it. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption is a brushstroke on the canvas of eternity, painting a world in your own likeness. Close your eyes and feel it now. That quiet hum behind your chest, that gentle warmth in your belly, that soft vibration that says, I am here. I am whole. I am infinite. That is the everlasting light of being. That is the truth the great teachers have whispered since the dawn of time. It does not age. It does not waver. It does not fail. You could strip away everything, the wealth, the titles, the names, and still you would remain radiant and untouched. So as this message fades into silence, remember that nothing truly ends. The words stop, but the vibration continues. It continues in your heart, in your breath, in the spaces between your thoughts. It will follow you as you sleep and rise with you as you wake. Every time you pause and feel that silent joy, you are touching this truth again. Go now, not as a seeker of light, but as the light itself. Go as the one who knows that imagination creates reality and that consciousness is God. Go as the one who understands that wealth, love, success, and peace are not destinations. They are reflections of your own divine nature. Walk through the world gently, knowing that every soul you meet is another expression of yourself, another spark of the same infinite flame. And when the noise of the world grows loud, when doubt tries to whisper its familiar song, return here to this stillness, to this breath, to this knowing. Say quietly, I am. And let those words anchor you once more in eternity. The universe will listen. And in that instant, all things will fall into harmony. For nothing can resist the voice of awareness speaking its own name. And in that silence, in that infinite hush where imagination and being are one, you will hear it, the everlasting truth, the gentle music that's no beginning and no end. You are the light. You are the source. You are the soundless sound of wealth. And you always have been. Now go live a light of that knowing, and let your very existence be the evidence that God lives in you and as. Thank you.